Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh, we are all back ready for some more hoop here as we kick off the sort of second half, at least post All-Star break. We are going to be looking at 10 games here on the slate for everybody. We've got some best bets in here, some sides and totals. Also got the player props for you as well. So make sure you are sub to that channel. We're coming back to you each and every weekday that we've got hoop moving forward. So let's kick it off here in Golden State, where you do like the Celtics to cover. This thing only moved 1 point, and I got to agree with you on this take.
So far, right? I mean, with Steph officially ruled out, it looked like he was going to be coming back. And the Warriors kind of writing's on the wall, like season's over. We're waiting for Jimmy Butler next year. And I can't imagine that they have a tremendous defensive effort here. So unfortunately, yeah, we're at 5.5 in places and climbing. I think you can go Jaylen Brown, 25 points in the win here. I think Jaylen is going to be out for revenge. That's part of the cap here. Another, Team USA snub. We saw Tatum and company beat the Dubs by 50 last year in Golden State as a little bit of extra revenge narrative to stick it to Steve Kerr. And Brown, I think, doesn't need much. He also would love to stick it to Draymond Green after all the mess he talked from the finals, 5 years ago at this point. But yeah, he don't forget. And now young man is in his prime. Draymond Green is well over the prime, no longer the stopper who's going to be able to keep Brown out of the paint and from the mid-range. And that's really the key here. Since losing Jimmy, the Dubs are the fourth worst team guarding the mid-range and above the break threes. Like, that's exactly what you need to do to stop the Celtics, who are half-court assassins. They are just going to absolutely slow it down and get points every single time here. With the total moving down a full 11 points because Steph is not playing here. It started at 223. It's just the market saying, I have no faith. We have no faith in this Golden State offense without Steph Curry. Why would you? There's just a bunch of vulnerable shooters or a bunch of vulnerable defenders. You can play whack-a-mole with the lineup however you want, Steve Kerr, but the Celtics, like lions to the gazelle, right? They're just going to find the weakness. They're going to leave the weak shooters, and they're going to attack the slow-footed guys on the other end.
Yeah. It's about to get ugly real fast in Golden State, who still holds on to a playoff spot, I believe, much less a play-in spot. Obviously, they still have to play in the play-in. It's about to go downhill fast, and it already kind of has. And they're going to still have spunky wins. Like, I don't think they're going to fall so far from 500 team that you're just like, wow, they've got a shot at the lottery or a top-ish pick here now. It's not going to be like that. They're still going to hover and dangle within 5 to 10 games, at the most 10 games of 500, and they'll win a few little spunky games here and there. I just don't think this is one of them. And a bit of the narrative too is like the Celtics coming in, wanting to sort of avenge some stuff and just not as worried about rest or the road trip across country when you had time to get to Golden State kind of early with the break. So this thing is mispriced to me. I don't know if the league is paying attention, but Chicago is like the worst team in the league, like close to it anyway, because Washington is just doing their darndest to make sure that they have a lower net rating over the last 5 to 7 games than does Chicago, but nobody else does. Nobody else is worse than Chicago other than the Wizards, according to net rating specifically, but nobody's worse than Chicago in defense. 127.5 over the course of their last 5 specifically. Those 5 losses include games against Brooklyn, where they gave up $123. They just gave up $123 as well to this Toronto team just a few weeks ago, right before the break. And they also gave up 131 to a Milwaukee team that is just starving for offense and everything without Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if you wanted to go over, that's reasonable here in a game with Chicago that doesn't. I don't believe it's quite at 230 on the total there for this one. So it's like it's reasonable to get there with it. I'm just double checking to make sure I'm not lying to you guys. 233.5. So like okay, it's right around probably fair. But I would still expect even Toronto, who's a bit stuck in the mud sometimes on offense, to be able to play against the Chicago team and play well. And Chicago's back up to playing at a pretty fast pace, like 100.3. They had a few games where they were down, but that's still top 10 in terms of pace over these last 5. There's just nothing to like about this team. They went from having no rim protection to having no rim protection, and they also don't have as much on defense. Io is actually at least a breath of fresh air on the perimeter at times. Even Kevin Huerter was at times. Neither of them there either. So Chicago's in like weird full tank mode, but I don't even know if it's on purpose. I don't know what they're doing. I just know 5.5 points against the Raptors is not enough.
Yeah, you see the parallels between Chicago and Sacramento for the last couple of years of like swimming in the middle, right? And now just like completely finding new and creative ways to field awful lineups, just like 4 small guards and Yabusele. It's just like, how do you expect to get a stop ever? I mean, they're listing Giddey and Tre Jones as questionable. I guess if those guys were to play, then you could like the over here. Otherwise, yeah, there's nothing to like about the Bulls even keeping pace with any team. They're just going to be hemorrhaging points. And yeah, I really like Scottie Barnes in the player props there because I think they're going to get whatever they want there, Toronto. I think the Nuggets will get over their team total here. I mean, game total is 225 here at the Clips. I don't know exactly what you're going to get from the Clippers offense night in, night out. I mean, is Kawhi going to be absolutely lights out? That's basically how they're going to drag themselves over their team total. They do now introduce Benny Matz, who is, now has a couple games under his belt and a break to get used to being on the Clips. And they do have some advantages in terms of bigs, Collins and Lopez, who can shoot the corner three, the Clips. But and that's what Denver gives up. But it's more about just like Denver being willing to give up shots, willing to give up points. Basically, it's just the way Jokic plays. It's just like, yep, I'll just save my energy because we're scoring on the other end. They just outscore everybody. They average 125 with him with a 119 defensive rating. The lowest total they've hit is 231 with Joker since he came back. I mean, only 2 matchups with Houston and 1 with Charlotte since the start of November have they gone below 220 in terms of the game totals. And Jokic has already roasted the Clippers with Zubac out there, and you'd think like that body type and defender is one of the best options to put on Jokic. They still average 121 against Zubac, won 5 straight in the regular season against him, generating great shots, 45% from 3. And they even dropped 126 when Joker missed one of those games. And now, yeah, you got Jamal Murray cooking. You've got Christian Brown back at more full strength, and Jokic loves to play off them. And without Zoo, yeah, I mean, they're allowing the 6th highest field goal percentage in the paint, the Clips. So, like, whatever metrics they had, they still have pretty good perimeter defenders. But, I mean, Jokic and Murray, the way they're playing, I think can negate that.
Yeah. I mean, the Clips have been pretty good, I suppose, on the perimeter for a few games, hit or miss. They were playing the Rockets a couple times in a row as well, and that Rockets offense has been bad. Like not even just like, oh, bad for the Rockets. Like it's been bad overall. So 2 games in a row against them, and no James Harden might make it look like they've gotten a bit better. But this is a different animal with this Nuggets team coming in slightly healthier than they've been. Looking at this one here, I am going to go under. I still do want to it's interesting just as a sort of point in the season, like a benchmark in the season with the All-Star break here. And what we've seen recently in the last couple years is this is the moment that the unders start, right? And it seems like Silver gives his middle finger back to the league who's trying to tank or who's trying to sit guys and goes like, we're not calling fouls anymore. Like we're not going to just give you these easy buckets with other guys playing or whatever. That started early. This has already been like an under kind of season since like January 1st. So it seems like that's kind of the trend. I don't know why they would go back. It just seems like they started that sort of refereeing earlier in the season. And so I am looking for unders more often in these game totals at this point down the stretch. And this one without Joel, it's actually moved up a couple points. And I know Atlanta's definitely not like impressing anybody on defense here, but without Joel, like despite the fact that their defensive rating is worse, it's their offensive rating that suffers way more. And like Maxey carrying them with like 38-point games at the beginning of the season has not been the trend for the last 2 months, essentially, where when he's playing without PG and without Joel, he's actually down to 26 points per game. And this is a guy who was leading the league in scoring here, up above 30 for like the first, couple months almost, just way down at this point. And it's a bit of a lack of shooting, but the team as a whole is just down to about 112 points per game versus the $118 that they have with Joel. So when he's out, that 112, their games are averaging about 228. Atlanta, as bad as they've been overall on defense, they're playing fast and they do give up opportunities to score and assist overall. I just don't think you're going to get the same level of success for the 76ers team without both PG and Joel, especially. I think it's the defense will still be somewhat reliable with guys like Oubre and Drummond and Bona and Grimes as well, getting the minutes that I think still makes them a reasonable defense.
Yeah, and I mean Dyson Daniels a reasonable matchup for Maxey to at least get the ball out of his hands, see who else can can beat them. And if you don't have Embiid as that secondary hub, maybe the Sixers offense grinds a little bit. Go and play props here, and Alpi Sengun, the points and rebounds, not the assists, because I don't know if the Rockets are going to be in a cooperative mood after the news that came out here over the break. I don't know if him and KD are going to be running that 2-man game as much. In case you need filling in, Kevin Durant apparently had a couple of burner accounts that were criticizing his teammates, and it came out publicly. It's possible the Rockets already knew about this behind closed doors, and it just like they were in a funk kind of going into the All-Star break. Now it's out in the world though, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I could see KD, trying to gun to get a bunch of points here to prove like his point, or maybe he just like actually is like, I'm going to try to look cooperative here, set up my number 2 in terms of Sengun, and let him really get going. But as far as like in a basketball sense here, this is a great opportunity for Sengun because Musa Diabate and Miles Bridges are suspended. And the Charlotte Hornets, who are very good on the interior, absolutely depend on those guys to be good on the interior defensively. Now without them, I mean, you got Grant Williams, solid body. I mean, Kalkbrenner, young guy. I mean, they have big still. It's not like it's going to be a walk-in, but Sengun has an opportunity to grab boards, grab offensive rebounds, which he did in the last matchup here, and to go to work in the paint. And in the last 6 going into the break, he had the 3rd most touches in the league, right behind Jokic and Joel. He also averages 39 PRA when he's on at least 2 days of rest this year. And 5 of his 10 rebounds per game were contested going into that. Top 10 in rebound chances at 16 going into that break. Last time we saw this matchup, I mean, it was a back-to-back for Houston. KD, 6 turnovers, 43% usage in a loss. Maybe that was the source of his frustration. He started blaming everybody, his teammates, for putting him in bad position. So I don't know. I could see him just kind of like moping, taking a step back and letting Sengun, who are, regardless, is getting a ton of usage, but letting him just take on even more. And for some of these other guys to try to prove to KD that they are capable co-stars.
Yeah, I really like the rebounds for him. I mean, like 8.5 is kind of just like a hit for him without Adams in the way that he's playing. 8.5 is like, I think, a fair number. I have to consider the opponent really, really good at limiting rebounds. If I were going to be scared off of 8.5 for him. And this is a really, really good opponent at limiting rebounds. When they have Musa Diabate and Miles Bridges, their 2 best rebounders, period, end of story. It's their 2 best. Even if you put Kalkbrenner on the floor with Miles Bridges, I would still say Miles Bridges is the better rebounder, and he's not even available, right? So now it's like Khan, I guess, and like just no one's afraid of Kalkbrenner, but Khan is a better rebounder than I thought he would be coming in based on what he did at Duke, and it's still just there's nothing here to scare me away from that stuff from Alpi in this matchup. So also not much to scare me away from Onyeka now that we're talking about him going up against Embiid, or an Embiid-less Philly defense here. So I like 14.5. I think it's just too low at 14.5. I think this is a number that I would consider if Joel was playing, and maybe I'd stay away out of fear of what this team has been with him on the floor, which is about 114 defensive rating with Joel out there. And if you take Paul George off the floor and you still have Joel out there, still only like 114.5. It's not like PG has actually had that much of an impact on the defense necessarily. It's been a lot more Joel, and specifically against the centers, who have just been a really good under to hunt when they're going up against the 76ers team that is playing Joel. So with Onyeka, like I think part of this is like he was coming back from injury. He didn't even really have much of a minutes limit, to be honest. He only ended up playing, I guess, only 29 in their last game there before the break in the 3-point loss, and still got there with the point. So I think the 14.5 should be at least 15.5 for him. Now that it's like there's no KP, there's no center to really battle with him other than Jock Landale, who they've actually played alongside Onyeka for a couple minutes in the last few games. And when Onyeka's been out there in full minutes, Jock's back down to like less than 15. So I think he's good for full minutes in a juicy matchup against like Bona, who he's better than no matter how you put it. And then against Drummond, able to like step out to the 3-point line at that point.
Yeah, the threes might be intriguing here. I mean, Philly was the 4th worst limiting above the break threes in the last 10 going into the break. And then when Embiid started missing game, they're also giving it up down low, allowing 72% in the restricted area. So yeah, either way, it's a good matchup for centers recently with Embiid not so healthy. Mentioned we like the Raptors and like Scottie Barnes just be the head of the snake here. 5.5 assists is plus money. I mean, Barnes, he can get it a variety of ways here. Chicago's terrible in transition. They're terrible guarding second chance points. Like you said, yeah, the worst defense in the league since remaking the roster, 32.5 assists per game. That's a league high. League highs in terms of 56% on corner threes, which is just absurd. 45% on above the break, and allowing the 5th most attempts at the rim. So I mean, yeah, they're you can get whatever you want. But with Jalen Smith and Yabusele sharing the center position, there's not much to be scared there. That's why they've allowed the most assists per game to centers, 6.2 per game to centers. They on the season, like whether you consider Scottie more of a power forward, allowed the most fantasy points per game to power forwards. They allowed 17 dimes to Jokic in a blowout loss. So if we're worrying about the short run here, that's less of a concern. And in the last 10, I mean, Barnes leads the Raps in assist points created. He's getting 6 dimes. He's getting 10 potentials. And I think this is a fine matchup to say, like, let's juke that up and expect more production here. I mean, he had 7 dimes in an easy win over Chicago before the break. And I could definitely see that happening again here.
Yeah. I think this is a good number for Scottie with the plus money and the plus matchup. Don't always love betting, obviously, some of these Raptors guys, but it's a good spot for sure. So speaking of a good spot, I think the value on this Tre Johnson bet, Tre J, as I hope we can dub him and he gets dubbed officially, like this is low if he's playing 30 minutes. And he was playing that before he got hurt, missed a few games, came back, played low minutes, capped at 25. Don't know why he'd be capped now. All the games that he played before he got hurt. I mean, there was no Trae Young. I don't think Trae Young is going to be playing. There's no Anthony Davis. Like, there's nobody that's going to take real usage from him, because even when it's like him, Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, and that band of merry men, he's still getting his. Like, he's a chucker, and he's a good chucker, by the way. So this number for him, when he's up at about 30 minutes with this crew of guys with no CJ McCollum, etc., then you're looking at him at about 17 and a half, actually, and up at averaging more than 18. So I think there's like a weirdness around Washington in general, right? Which is totally fair, but I feel like this is one of the few guys I can bank on getting more than 30 minutes. Probably Keyshawn, starting to believe in Alex Sarr. Not sure what his health is like these days either. But I know Tre Johnson should be fully healthy after 2 games back and a week off. I'm going to feel pretty good about him getting 30 plus on the minutes there.
Yeah, Alex Sarr is actually out.
He's already out. Great.
With a hamstring, it looks like. And yeah, Anthony Davis, Trae Young listed out, not with team. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that. I think it's clearly time to just play the young guys. The only way to save face in some way here with the tanking is to be like, no, we just want to see our number 6 overall pick and give him 30 plus minutes. And I mean, not draw the ire of the league here, which is what teams like the Wizards really have to worry about here down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a guy to watch out for, man. He's a scorer. Love watching Tre Johnson play. But that is all the time that we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Going to be coming back to you with Friday's games as well. Another big slate. And then we'll be back on Monday as well. So until we see you next, happy betting.